The typical liberal lefty who doesn't believe in free speech and the First Amendment. A lot of people think that's why they got banned. Well, that's not true. And today I'm going to explain why you got banned. And for the other friendlies who are still here and didn't get banned, you might find this interesting too. I have a few things I want to talk about. Stay tuned.
There ain't nobody gonna do it for you. Got to find your own.
Hey friendlies and former subscribers, how y'all doing today? It's Saturday morning and this has been on my mind for a couple of days, so I'm just going to shoot an off-the-cuff video today and hopefully no edits. I kind of want to set the record straight about a couple of things. I do want to talk to the people who have been banned from my channel and clear up any myths that I am anti-free speech. I want to talk about the First Amendment, what that means, and I want to talk about why people are getting banned at record speed from my channel. And I think the first thing to talk about is am I anti-free speech? Absolutely not. Am I anti-First Amendment? Absolutely not. The First Amendment, have you read it? I don't recall, I have, and I don't recall anywhere in the First Amendment it says that a YouTube creator has to allow anyone to comment on her channel and leave it there. There is nothing in the First Amendment that says that I should put up with bullying, harassment, name-calling, slander. I mean, the most awful, graphic, disgusting things. There is nothing in the First Amendment that says that I have to put up with that. YouTube basically leases me a channel, and I kind of rent the channel from them, and the cost of renting that channel is a share of the ad revenue that they put on my channel. So that's my cost of doing business with YouTube, having a channel. When I sign up for that, when I get a channel, YouTube also gives me a comment section. That's my community. That's where I create a community according to my values, my beliefs, my morals, and the morals and values and beliefs of my audience. They also give me the tools to ban people, to delete comments, to block people as I see fit. They also have a separate guidelines, separate guidelines that have their community guidelines that I can go a step further. Besides banning people, which they give me complete control over, there is nothing, when I signed up for a YouTube channel, there is nothing that says, I didn't sign a contract that says you have to abide by the First Amendment and never delete a comment, because that's not what the First Amendment is about. So we're going to get to that in a minute. But they gave me the tools to be able to ban and block people. And they have, in addition to that, they have their own community guidelines. And there's anti-bullying, there's anti-harassment, there's anti-bigotry, and there's all kinds of different community guidelines that they have. And I can go a step further. Besides blocking people from my channel, which they give me full power of, I can also report them to YouTube to get their channel suspended. That's not something I normally do because I just don't have the time to fight every bully out there. But that's the reality of being a YouTube creator. I have said this before. It took me a while to realize that with an audience this size comes a responsibility. My responsibility is not just in the content that I create and how I communicate and how basically how I communicate and express my beliefs and opinions, but that responsibility is also to you, to my community. And I take that responsibility very seriously, even more so now. So in addition to not wanting my community to be subject to the daily harassment, bullying, name-calling, ugly, misogynist, ageist, sexist crap that not only I deal with, but a lot of times those comments are aimed at other viewers as well. I don't want you to have to be exposed to that. It's bad enough I have to be exposed to it, but luckily over 3 years I've learned that it's kind of an honor. That's a whole other story, maybe a whole other video. For my new channel, which is coming soon, by the way. So, yeah, it's a responsibility. It is, as a public figure now, as someone with an audience as big as mine, it is a responsibility to have a community. And In addition to over the years just banning people who are rude and mean and obnoxious and ugly and vile, which has been, something even in the beginning. I even struggled with that in the beginning. It's like, oh, I bought into their gaslighting that if I didn't leave that, I wasn't abiding by the First Amendment, which is just total bull. Let's talk about the First Amendment. Am I anti-First Amendment? Does the fact that I am deleting comments from my channel make me a typical liberal who doesn't believe in free speech? I started to say this. The First Amendment does not say that I, as a private individual, hang on, I have the verbiage here, I want to read it to you. It does not say that I, as a private individual, need by law and by constitution to allow anybody on my channel to say anything. That's not what the First Amendment says. The First Amendment verbatim says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. That's what the First Amendment says about free speech. That Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Am I Congress? Last time I checked, nope, I wasn't Congress. I'm just a middle-aged woman trying to make a living on YouTube and live my life as free as I can. That's it. This doesn't apply to me. For me to say that I'm anti-free speech because I'm deleting garbage from my channel is ridiculous. I'm not out there lobbying Congress saying, oh, they called me a name and so they need to be arrested or that needs to be stopped. That's what free speech is about. And unfortunately, the Constitution of the United States of America allows you to call me the C word and ugly and fat and gross and disgusting and all you want. But that does not mean you're allowed to say that without repercussion, except that I'm not going to allow that on my channel. YouTube leases me the space, and I get to do whatever I want with it. They did not make me sign a contract that says I have to let everybody say anything on my channel. That's not how this works. So it amazes me how people stretch the Constitution and the First Amendment and the Second Amendment that, just because I delete somebody who calls me a fat pig on my channel, I'm anti-free speech. And just because I believe that an 18-year-old with anger issues shouldn't be allowed to, buy an Uzi, that we should have background checks, that makes you anti-Second Amendment. It's this black and white thinking, this us versus them, which I think in a lot of cases has gotten us where we are today. So those of you who are now watching me and saying, yeah, but I didn't call you names, I wasn't disrespectful, I wasn't mean, and I still got banned. The second part of my responsibility, as I see it, is to keep my platform free of misinformation, disinformation, conspiracy theories, and lies. And if you have been banned, and I'm going to tell you, I've tens of thousands probably of comments over the years I have banned, and very, very a lot recently, and probably thousands of people have been banned. Most of them are names I don't recognize, and lately I really do think that it's part of the effort to get Trump reelected. I don't know if they're Russian bots, but there were just too many weird things that I was seeing in comments that made me think they weren't real people. And so I was like, I'm going to err on the side of them being Russian bots, and you're deleted. You're banned, you're deleted, you can't comment on my channel anymore. There were, however, a couple of people who I did recognize the names of, and I didn't want to have to ban them. I didn't. For the most part, they've been friendly, they've been kind. Even if they disagreed with me, they did it in a respectful way, and so they've been allowed to comment on my channel. But this week, a lot of them showed me a side of them that was really disappointing. And because of my responsibility to myself and to you and to my community and to the world, I banned you. I could have just deleted your comment, but you would only come back with more. So here's what I'm seeing, and this is what has mostly been getting banned this week. Lies about the election. So let's make one thing very clear. The media has been calling elections since 1848. Since 1848, the media has been predicting the outcomes of elections. And only, I think, twice in history have they gotten it wrong. 2000, Gore v. Bush being the last one. And because the media, and because of that, they have made changes which made them, a lot of us who follow me on Twitter, I think it's Carolyn's RV Life. Yeah, Carolyn's_RV Life on Twitter, very political there, very raw, me. And a lot of us on Twitter were saying, call it already, but they were super diligent. They knew the political climate this year. They knew they had to be extra sure before they called an election. So let's talk about how the media calls elections and how they have called elections since 1848. For one thing, they have mathematicians and statisticians on board who help them decide when to call a race. They have people in each state who have studied the state's rules and laws around elections. They know what the recount threshold is. They know the history of the state, and they have people in each state that they go to before they call a state. So here is how it works. Here's how the whole election calling thing has worked in this country since 1848, including in 2016, and we're going to get to that in a minute. In every state, there is a margin for either automatic recall or automatic recount, or the right of any candidate to call a recount. And in Pennsylvania, I think it was 0.5%, so 0.5%. If the vote was that close, within 0.5% of one another, votes for who are we? Biden versus Trump. If there was 0.5% difference, or less than 0.5% difference there, then it either went to automatic recount, or any candidate could call a recount. They waited to call Pennsylvania, even though Biden's lead was getting greater and greater and greater by the hour. And it was very clear, very days, I think, before they called it, that Biden was probably going to win. They waited until they overcame that 0.5% of recount territory, which means there is no way, even with a recount, there is no way Trump would win Pennsylvania. No way. And that is when they called it. So this myth that I'm seeing ad nauseum on my channel, and again, it just doesn't seem like real people. It's too constant. They're getting too many thumbs up on their comments too soon. I'm just having a really hard time believing that most of them are real people. And the key word right now is media doesn't call elections. The Electoral College calls elections. Well, since 1848, the media has predicted the outcome of elections based on math and statistics, and this year is no different. And yes, the Electoral College is the one who ends up voting for the candidate, but if they do their job the way they're supposed to, it's very clear at this point, Biden has won by a landslide. He's won the popular vote by more than 5 million, more than any other candidate in history, and his Electoral College defeat of Trump is larger than Trump's Electoral College defeat in 2016, which in 2016 Trump called a landslide. It was an absolute landslide, he said, even though he lost the popular vote. So we're in a situation now where Joe Biden has not only won the popular vote by more votes than any other candidate in history, he's won the Electoral College vote by a landslide, and we have a president and a bunch of right-wing news stations and Republicans who are not admitting defeat. And not only are they not conceding and they're not admitting defeat, they're making you believe. This is what I'm having a really hard time with. Those of you who I felt I knew, who came to me and said the media doesn't call the election, Biden is stealing the election, you got banned. That's just 100, 1,000% absolutely false. It's false. It is a lie by a desperate man and a desperate party to hold on to power. And I am not going to let my channel be a vehicle for spreading such anti-American lies. The people voted fair and square. Trump immediately started dozens of lawsuits, and in every single state those lawsuits were defeated by judges. How can anyone still come to my channel and say that Biden is stealing the election when it's so obvious that it's Trump who is trying to steal the election? Trump lost. That's a fact. And I'm going to put my sources, and I hope that you'll read them. I hope that you will read them. I can't wait to start my political channel. I have so much I want to talk about, and I've started it. Stay tuned, it'll be coming soon. There's a lot I want to talk about. And anyway, I'm going to be starting another channel soon. So that's that. Trump is the one. I don't know how to be any more clear about this. Biden is not stealing the election. 75 million people voted for Joe Biden. There is zero evidence of voter fraud. There is no voter fraud. The fact is, we have a president who allowed this pandemic to get so out of control. So out of control. I mean, what? I don't know. The numbers are spiking. 230,000 people are dead. That Democrats, so hear me out on this one as well. Trump supporters believe that COVID is fake, it's a hoax, that masks don't work, that masks don't help, and that it's all a conspiracy theory to make Trump look bad. That's what a lot of the Republicans think. So when you think like that, of course you're not going to be afraid to vote in person, right? And that's what Trump was counting on. He wanted his people to go and vote in person because he knew that it would be easier to convince people on election night that he won, and that he's been planting the seed since 2016 that voting is rigged and that there's voter fraud, rampant voter fraud. Since 2016 he has been saying that. And I still hold on to my belief that there could have been rigging in the machines on the day of the election. I'm still holding on to that because they're just outraged that we have so many paper ballots. We have proof that Biden won on paper ballots, and it's driving them nuts. So we have the Trump supporters who don't believe in masks and don't believe in COVID, not afraid to go to the polls, and we have the Democrats who know they believe scientists, they believe doctors, they look at the data, they see the numbers, they see people around them getting this disease and dying. I mean, I know more than a couple people who had elderly parents in nursing homes, and several people who ended up getting COVID and their elderly parent had to die alone. Or not even elderly parents, other people who had to die alone because they had to be quarantined. So the Democrats believe the science, they believe the doctors, they don't believe in conspiracy theories, they don't believe in a president who has shown through his whole life that he's willing to lie, cheat, and steal to get ahead, that he's conned everybody. Trump University, his nonprofit, the guy who delivered his piano, he cheated out of the money to deliver it. I mean, it goes on and on. Trump and every single credible news source has proved he has lied. Every time he opens his mouth, he lies. And so we see that. We don't want to put ourselves and other people at risk by going and voting in person, so we voted by mail. I almost think that this was the plan all along. That this is why maybe he didn't do more to stop the pandemic. That he was willing maybe to let people die so that more Democrats would vote by mail and that he could call it a fraud. Think about it. I mean, you believe your conspiracy theories about us. Why is that any more far-fetched considering what we've seen from this person his whole life? So let me say that again in shorter terms. Republicans weren't afraid to go to the polls because they don't believe in science, so they voted in person. Democrats do believe in science, do believe in doctors, don't believe the president, and so we voted by mail because we didn't want to put ourselves and others at risk. That is why in the days following the election and the counting was happening, Trump started seeing his leads in some states decline. That's the only reason. It's not because there's fake ballots. It's not because they're throwing away Trump ballots. It's not because there's widespread voter fraud. All have been completely debunked, disproven. It's just because my vote, the votes of my friends, the votes of your fellow Americans are getting counted. That's the fact. That's the truth. And if you come to my channel and say anything else, I'm going to ban you. I'm going to delete the comment and I'm going to ban you. You're never going to be able to comment on my channel again. That's my duty as an American. That's my duty as a YouTube creator. I can't believe that Fox News and Breitbart and America One are allowed to spread conspiracy theories and lies and purposeful disinformation in the name of news. And so many people only get their news there and they believe those lies. I mean, to the point of just like, la, 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 la. You know, I could put an orange in front of your face, but Fox News has told you for 10 years that it's an apple, and I said this before with the sky, and you're just going to refuse to believe it. And I'm sorry, that's the truth. This is tough love right here, right now. Me banning you, and especially the couple people that I'm thinking about, that's kind of how I looked at it. It's tough love. What is it going to take to help you see that you're in an abusive relationship? You are in a relationship with someone who doesn't care about you, but he's gaslighted you. He's gaslighted you. He's lied to you. He's used you at every turn, and yet you're still defending him. He is an abuser. I mean, there's no other way to say it. And this is kind of like my intervention. When I delete your comment and you're not able to comment anymore, it's not because I hate you. It's not because I disagree with what you said. Well, no, it is. It is because I disagree with what you said because it's false. I care about you, and I'm so shocked and disappointed that you believe these lies. I'm surprised, and I'm also shocked and disappointed that you don't have the wherewithal to fact check so much of Trump's lies. How can you not see that he is a desperate man, desperately trying to stay in power, and that he is the one right out from underneath our noses who is trying to steal the election? And you're sitting there still thinking you're full of crap. You're the one who's brainwashed. You're a liar. It's not me. No, you just are brainwashed by the liberal schools and the liberal media. Okay? So let me ask you this. You say your excuse for Biden, not calling Biden president-elect, your excuse for telling me that I'm an idiot and that I'm stupid and that I'm an asshole for saying that Biden won, your excuse for that is that the media does not call elections, right? The media doesn't call elections. How can you be celebrating that Biden hasn't won? That's what you're telling me, right? Okay, so let me ask you this. In 2016, when Trump won, the race was called at 2:30 a.m. When Trump won, where is it? Let me look. Wisconsin. At 2:30 a.m., Trump won Wisconsin when the ballots were counted, and the AP, the Associated Press, called the election because he had reached 270 electoral college votes, which is based on exit polls and based on math and statistics and all the things that I described before. All the margins for recall were met, all the same things that happened this year. In 2016 at 2:30 a.m., the morning after the election, they called it when he won Wisconsin. At 2:35 a.m., Hillary called Trump to concede. Maybe that was her mistake, right? Maybe she should have acted like Trump and just refused to concede. What would you have said? If Hillary Clinton acted the way Trump is acting now, what would you still be marching in the streets? Would you be screaming bloody murder that we can't call the election right now? Hold on. So again, 2:30 a.m., the AP, the Associated Press, called the election when Wisconsin put him over 270 electoral college votes. 2:35, Hillary conceded. At 2:50, 20 minutes later, Trump went on national television and claimed his victory. 2016. Within 20 minutes of the press, the media, calling the election, Trump declared that he won. He declared victory. Here we are, 4 years later. Oh, by the way, he lost the popular vote by 3 million. He just eked out at that point. He had just gotten 270 electoral college votes, just eked it out. So if Hillary wanted to be what Donald Trump is being today, she could have refused to concede and said, no, I'm going to file lawsuits in a key state and try to get that changed. But that's not what she did. That's not what every candidate, almost, except I think one or two, way back when, that's not what other candidates have done in U.S. history. Losers are not afraid to admit defeat unless you're Donald Trump. So in 2016, he declared victory 20 minutes after the media announced him the winner, despite losing by 3 million the popular vote. Fast forward 4 years. Here we are, a week and a half. And I think it took, how many days? It took a week? Did it take a week? Wait a minute. What's the date today? I'm not going to edit this. So today's the 14th. Okay, so it's been 7, 8, 9, 10. It's been like 11, 12 days since the election. It took several days. I don't know. It took several days for them to call Joe Biden the winner. They, again, were diligent about their numbers. They wanted to make sure there was no shadow of a doubt that even with a recall, some of the states would not be able to be overturned in a recount. And so several days later, after doing their due diligence, the media, just like it did in 2016, the Associated Press, declared Joe Biden the winner. Several days. Not 20 minutes. Several days when the count was done. And here we are a week later, and Donald Trump still has not conceded. So what's different? You're screaming, yeah, he shouldn't concede. The media doesn't call the election. The media doesn't call the election. I have deleted hundreds of comments, maybe thousands, of people who say the media doesn't call the elections. That's false. The media has been calling elections since 1848. Yeah, that's a fact. Look it up. I'll put links below. And in 2016, Donald Trump, when the media called the election at 2:30, didn't say, oh, no, the media doesn't call elections. I'm waiting until December. No, he waited a whole 20 minutes to accept victory. And now, 4 years later, because he lost, you're expecting us to just sit here and just not declare a winner. Even though Joe Biden has won both the popular vote by, 5 million? Trump lost it by 3 million. That's an 8 million vote differential between 2016 and now. And yet you're saying he shouldn't declare. And he's got like 290 electoral votes. I think we're up to over 300 now. A landslide. Joe Biden now has more electoral votes, I believe, right, than Donald Trump had in 2016. And you're still, and more than 5,000 votes, and you're still saying, 5 million. And you're still saying that he shouldn't be declared the winner because the media doesn't call the race. Electors call the race. That's a lie. And it's gaslighting you and me and all of us. This is a sick man who is trying to kill our democratic process. The election, fair and free elections, and accepting the will of the people is the very foundation of what makes America great. And you have a president who is causing chaos among us, who is causing us to hate one another. People who can't even stand, they're so stuck in their silo of misinformation and Fox News and Breitbart and America One and President Trump that they can't even stand to listen to another point of view. They have to leave. They just can't even bear another point of view. Is that healthy to you? And again, I'm not deleting comments because I can't stand another point of view. I don't mind another point of view if it's based in fact. Give me facts. I beg you. Every time I do one of these videos, I say, please disagree with me by giving me facts, and no one ever does. And when I challenge them, when I challenge you and say, okay, did you fact check that? Can you honestly fact check that and then come back to me and say that you still believe that? They never do. Or when I say that's false, come back to me with some credible information, they never do. Ever. Because you can't. Because it's lies, it's fabrication, it's gaslighting, it's conspiracy theories. So this is why I'm deleting people. This is why I may have deleted you. It's for your own good. It really is. I know that sounds like very maternal and parental, and I don't mean it to, but this is tough love from a fellow American who is fighting tooth and nail for our democracy. And by me fighting tooth and nail, number one, it's speaking out no matter how many subscribers I lose, no matter how much hate I get, no matter how much money I lose. This is me speaking out. And it also means helping you understand reality from falsehoods. And if I have banned you, I hope that you will take a look at the comment that got you banned and go fact check it against credible sources. You know, the other thing is I get called a lot of names all the time. And I'm an asshole, I'm stupid, I'm mean, and whatever. I mean, you know, whatever. I get called a lot of names. I hope, my goal, and I don't know that I've always succeeded. I was trying to think about this morning. When I do these political videos, my purpose is not to make Trump supporters feel stupid. It is not to call you names. It's not to say that you're a bigot or a racist. I don't think you've ever heard me say that. I don't believe it. I don't think. It's getting harder and harder, to be honest with you, to understand how, when faced with the bigoted, racist, misogynist things he has done, it's getting a lot harder to understand someone who can say that that's okay as long as gas doesn't go to $5 a gallon. That's what I'm seeing. Their biggest fear about Joe Biden is that gas is going to be $5 a gallon. Really? I'm having a really hard time being empathetic with an argument like that. Can you understand that? I don't want to hate. I don't want to blame other than Trump. You've heard me call Trump lots of names because I think he's not a good person. I don't think he has our best interest at heart. He does not care about this country. And I don't know what I can do to help you see that other than keep speaking truth to power, and maybe letting that settle in. I think I just have one more thing before I close, and that is that about the whole election. That's the other thing that I'm seeing, is that Joe Biden and the Democrats are stealing the election. So let's talk about Stop the Steal. Have you seen the hashtag Stop the Steal? I think that's part of what's going on with the march today, the 1 million person march, which looks like it was only thousands, if that. But Stop the Steal was started in 2016 by Roger Stone. Remember Roger Stone? Conservative activist and lobbyist for decades, who Trump hired to be part of his team. I don't know all the details off the top of my head, but Roger Stone is now a convicted felon. He was convicted and went to prison for witness tampering, lying to investigators, for his ties to the Russian government. This is fact. It's not made up. It's not the liberal media making shit up. This is a fact. Roger Stone is a convicted felon for lying and tampering with witnesses and trying to intimidate a judge over dealings with Russia and WikiLeaks. True story. Look it up. He started Stop the Steal in 2016. You might ask yourself, why would a Trump supporter with ties to Russia start a campaign in 2016 to stop the steal? Surprise, surprise, Trump won in 2016. But here we are 4 years later, this convicted felon and friend of Russia is now that Trump has lost, is carrying out this mission that he started in 2016 to convince Americans that a clear-cut winner is not a winner at all, but a fraud who is stealing an election. A convicted felon is trying to convince you that our American process, a convicted felon who works with Russia, is trying to convince you that our American process is rigged. I don't know what to say about, I don't know how do I convince you that this is all not real and that Trump lost fair and square, despite gerrymandering, despite voter suppression, despite all of the putting a political campaign donor, DeJoy, in charge of the post office and taking mailboxes out of cities, mostly, by the way, black and brown areas, taking mailboxes out of these places, despite taking sorting machines out of post offices to slow down the mail. Facts, these are facts, look them up. Despite all of those attempts to keep us from voting, we won. And they can't handle it. They just can't we won. We won. Biden won. The American people chose Joe Biden. That is a proven fact at this point. The lawyers who Trump hired to go and fight these frivolous lawsuits to try to get the votes changed are quitting because they don't want to be tied to a man who is trying to undermine our democratic process of voting. Do a little research on how Putin stays in power. What does Putin do to stay in power? Do you really think that he stays in power legitimately, that all the Russians keep voting for him even though he's a crook and a con? Do some research. Read some books about Putin. So I think that is what I wanted to cover today. Did I cover everything? I really just wanted to explain why you were banned from my channel. And hopefully, I'm going to, I do these videos because I hope to get through to somebody. I hope that I am the one voice maybe in your life right now who is speaking truth to power, who is not telling you what you want to hear. And it might hurt, it might suck, you might hate me, you might be angry, your pride might be hurt, but maybe somehow in the middle of the night, some little seed of doubt might be planted. That's what I'm hoping. Because even if Trump decides to concede, I don't know, we still don't know what's going to happen. But even if this isn't over, do you know what Mitch McConnell just did? He allowed a Federal Reserve, I think it was Federal Reserve candidate, who they have stalled for over a year, maybe 4 years, who believes that we should go back to the gold standard, which ended up being a disaster. I think it was the gold standard that led to the Great Depression. I didn't look that up. Don't quote me on that. Is that true? But anyway, this whack job of a woman who Trump appointed that the Senate decided they wouldn't hear because she's a whack job and she will kill the economy, so they didn't want her at the head of the Federal Reserve. I think it's the Federal Reserve or something like that. For the Trump administration, they're now all of a sudden hearing her. They want to put her in office for the Biden administration. Did you hear that? A candidate who was too much of a whack job for a job at the Federal Reserve, and I can't remember her name, and I can't remember if somebody who has a lot of power over the economy. That's what I remember. I just heard this last night. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and the rest of the Senate wouldn't confirm her because she was too much of a whack, and they knew that she would kill the economy under Trump. And because that's all they care about was the economy, they weren't going to allow her to be confirmed. You know what I'll do? I'll put the article below, since I can't remember the details. I'll put the article below so that you can read it for yourself. But now, because they know Trump's eventually, either if he doesn't concede, he's going to be taken out in handcuffs. The military has already come out and said, you know, our loyalty is to the Constitution, not to a person. So one way or another, Biden will be president no matter what on January 21st. And so what Mitch McConnell do is they're sabotaging him already. They're going to put this woman through. The Senate is going to put this woman through who is going to wreck the economy because she believes in the gold standard. That's a fact. Look it up. So when you think that when your echo chambers are telling you that the Democrats cheat, that the Democrats steal, that they are robbing you, that they're stealing the vote, take a closer look at what the Republicans have done. Look what Mitch McConnell did under Obama and how he stopped him from being able to do anything. Take a closer look. Please, please, do some research outside of your echo chambers and look at some facts. All right? So you've been banned. You've been blocked. You can't comment on my channel anymore. And I don't feel bad about it. Not a bit. That's not what the First Amendment was written for. I have a platform. I have a responsibility. And my responsibility is to truth. Not to egos. Not to, you know, what you think the First Amendment means to you. That's not what this is about. This is about truth. And also protecting myself from just, you know, sad, pathetic little people. Oh, Dan Rather! Oh my God. Yes, Dan Rather just tweeted a little while ago, I love this, because even though I know now it's not politically correct to love it, but Gone with the Wind was one of my favorite. I read the book before I saw the movie, one of my favorite books, and I understand now that it's got really inaccurate portrayals of slaves, which is horrible, but still, what's her name? Scarlett, spoiled little brat. Still one of my favorite books. And Dan Rather, if you gotta follow Dan Rather on Twitter, he's really coming out and starting to be quite snarky, and I am loving it. But he tweeted just a little while ago, and I said, I'm gonna steal that, but you're banned. Deal with it. Don't care what you think. Frankly, my trolls, I don't give a damn. And on that, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to start working on tomorrow night's travel video. And don't worry, for those of you who don't like politics, you're probably not still here anyway. We're winding down on the solely political videos on this channel. I am starting another channel where I can talk openly and freely about politics, although I really do have mixed feelings about that. Part of me wants to keep doing this because a lot of you have been with me a while. You trust me. You like me. And you may not like my politics. You may not like to hear what I have to say. You may not be here for politics, but I've changed minds. Or at least I've opened some minds to some possibilities. A lot of you, not a lot of you, trolls are like, who do you think you are? You think you're a political scientist? Well, yeah, it's kind of what I studied. Yeah, kind of. It's just more effort to shut me down, especially being a woman. I'm not allowed to have a voice. So part of me doesn't want to start another channel, because if I start another channel, the people who need to hear it won't hear it. Whereas here, maybe every once in a while something comes out that'll make someone think, ooh, wow, maybe they were lying to me. Oh, wow, really? That's a fact? Because they trust me and they believe me. So I have mixed feelings about that. But I do think that because I am enjoying talking politics so much, I do want a separate channel just for politics. I never planned to, do politics like this on this channel. That was never the goal. All right, I'll see you tomorrow night for a travel video. Hope you have a good Saturday. I will see you soon. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for all the kind comments who encourage me and support me and who have helped me find my voice publicly. I've always had a voice. I mean, I've always been pretty upfront and direct with people in my personal life, but you've allowed me to find my voice publicly and to be able to withstand the storm that comes from that. Those of you who've been with me for 4 years, almost 4, oh wow, I'm almost like 4 years exactly that I've been making videos this month. Maybe today, for all I know. It was soon after the 2016 election that I started making videos. And many of you who've been with me since the beginning know how hard it was. And through your support and comfort and moral support, I have been able to publicly share my voice and be able to withstand the storm that comes from that. And so I thank you. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, be happy, be free, be kind, and speak truth to power whenever you can. We need it. We need more people to speak up. See you soon. Bye.